Working well?
Yep.
RAC?
Yeah, I see.
And I'm there?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, welcome to the lecture. Good evening. And so this is our 10th module. And continuing on from process assessment. So Jennifer is going to miss out on that question. She's really working hard not to get good marks, which is fine, which is her call. But following on from assessing a process, how good or bad a process is or how relevant it is to what we are trying to do, today we are discussing a very, very practical aspect of processes in general and analytical processes, agile processes in particular. So we'll see how far we go in terms of the particular aspect of it. But whatever we are discussing today can apply to any kind of process. So it could be even a project management process. It could be ITIL as a governance process and so on. So the one key thing we are discussing is how a process can be deployed in an organization. So we look at Agile and we look at Scrum and we understand Scrum and the product backlog and the sprint burn chart, whatever it might be. We understand all the theory, we create templates, but the challenge is how to deploy it in an organization of 1,000 people, or in fact for a large telecom company 12,000 people. How does a organization with a few thousand employees or contract staff become agile, use open, deploy a rational unified process? What does it do? So we are discussing that. We are really saying there is a process involved in deploying a process. So the approach to adopting a process, which is a process for a process. And then a little later I'll talk about the center of excellence. So this has become more or less like a proper noun, COE, Center of Excellence. And everything we discussed thus far, situational, method engineering, process components, method fragments, deliverables, all the repository of process elements, all of that can actually reside in a center of excellence. And an organization can use that particular location, a group of people or their experience report, their metrics, every time there is a new project. So go to the center of excellence. So it's a part of adopting a process. It's a part of an organization changing itself. So that is what we will discuss. We'll see how far we go in the first part of our chat. This visible a little bit, Sumit? Just a quick one?
Yep.
Okay, just a little bit.
Not too
That's
clear though.
Not too clear, that's fine. I mean, the slides will be there anyway, so long as there is just a reference to it,
yep,
so that people know what I'm talking about. And you will see all these numbers. I have put together just a few running numbers for an article that I have been writing. So I mentioned adopting a process, and we have discussed open as a software development process, and then I have discussed CAMS, Composite Agile Method and Strategy, as a composite process which goes beyond software and into the area of problem space, business analysis, even project management, so PMBOK and Prince2, all those processes we discuss, not in great detail, each of them, only open in great detail. But an organization says, yes, I can see the value of composite agile method. How do I go about using it? So the way you are going to use it, you as in the organization, is to undertake a transformation of the organization. So an organization like a telecom company, a bank or an airline cannot become fully agile by simply making a small project agile. So putting up stickers on the wall and following Scrum or Lean or XP is only going to make one project agile. But we are really aiming for the full value of agility, the full value of any process. It has to be a combined, unified, composite process. That means the organization has to change, which means business transformation, right? So an existing organization through transformation can become an agile organization, and for the last about 3 lectures, not the very last one, but the ones before that, we discussed agile as a process, and then we moved to composite agile as beyond software. All of that an organization wants to use. But to do that, it has to become an agile organization, not simply leaving 1 or 2 or 3 projects as agile. And in order to do that, it will have to worry about internal aspects, such as the leadership of the organization, right? If a Telstra or a Westpac says we want to become agile, you and I working in a project can't make it agile. We can only make the project agile. Someone who is the decision maker, who has the budgetary responsibility, has to say, yes, I'm ready to spend so much money to change the entire culture of my organization, right? Cultural values, social values, then software process, governance, then comes the final technologies where Scrum plays a good role. Decision making, business intelligence, supporting the process. As an example, I have taken inventory. All these are internal processes. They need to change. External aspects of an organization has to change as well, such as the input from customers. Has anyone gone and asked the customers, do you really want us to become agile? Yeah, I know that by default the answer is yes. The customer says, I want something and I want it quick. That means you should be agile. But has someone gone and dug deeper into the customer's requirements? What about user experience? I mean, even today's this little MX is saying CBA is now applying or deploying technologies where you simply wave your card rather than even swipe it. Already now in the most stores, for I think below $20 or below $50 or something, you don't have to sign. That means your card has now become more precious. The user experience is changing. You're getting value, I'm getting value, so that I don't have the torture of signing my card. But now my card is like cash, $50 note. Has someone gone and talked to the customers? Yes, I am assuming they have. But user experience. When an organization says we want to use open, for example, as a process, a small part of the organization that deals with software development and software maintenance will change. When we are saying the whole organization has to become agile, and that's the only way one can become agile, because unless the whole organization becomes agile, the value of agility is not realized. Then someone has to talk to the user and say, what is your experience with our organization? What would you like more from our organization, and so on. User experience. Has someone worried about a SWOT analysis or a PESTEL analysis just to find out what the competition is doing? now the access to my business is, the people to people transactions are reducing phenomenally. How many times do you go to the bank, the actual bank, across the counter and talk to a teller? Very few times. Even depositing a physical check is in a box. And nowadays, how many people are writing checks? I mean, I have not written a check for a few months. BPay, I owe you $2, I do a transfer. That means the personality of my organization depends on the interface that I present to the user. That means I need to study it, right? When I say I want to become agile, I want to use these methods and processes and so on. Unless I have done this kind of a study, it will not happen, or it will happen in a haphazard way. I want to become agile. What about rules, regulations, compliance needs? If I have an outsourced project, we already discussed that. There is a need for much more documentation, much more detailed documentation than in a typical in-house agile project, because contract is involved. Although agile manifesto says individuals and interaction over contracts or whatever, contract negotiation, outsourced project is contract. Has someone bothered to do this investigation? So if you are asked to make an organization agile as against a project agile, you will have to worry about all of this, and that to me is fascinating stuff. And why should an organization do this at all? And here are some thoughts for you. Enable rapid response to business changes, or demand for changes. Business wants to change continuously. New rules are coming, new competition is coming, new means of accessing customers is coming, rapid change. Achieve technical flexibility, systems level flexibility. Yes, you want to become agile so that you are able to change your systems faster. So service oriented architecture, SOA, the whole charm of SOA is the ability to put together new processes which are derived from data and applications that may even be sitting in a legacy suite. SOA. Enable collaboration with partners. You want to become agile so that you can start interacting with other business partners in a much more efficient and effective way. Why? Because you want to provide new products, right? You want to capture the customer and provide higher user experience. For example, I have a friend who is flying in from the US, spent an hour chatting with me this morning. He's got everything organized. I'm meeting him after 25 years. We used to stay together in Pune in India as young programmers, and he called from Portland, Oregon. So he's flying Qantas, he's staying in Park Royal, he's got this Greyhound or Grey Line bus organized for his travel, and he's only going to come to my home for 1 or 2 evenings. I said, my home is open, come anytime. He says, but I've got this package too. Right? Which means what is happening? A phenomenal amount of collaboration between the airline, the hotel, the bus company, even the car rental, if there is the insurance company, everything by just going to one site. I asked him whether he's got his visa or whatever, visa waiver, and he said, Qantas has done that. Qantas and visa to come to Australia? It's an airline, right? But it's learning that through collaboration it's offering a one-stop service. So it's really not in the business of flying when it is dealing with my friend. It's in the business of giving my friend and his family user experience, full travel experience. So I haven't gone to Bondi, but my friend knows that he has to go to Bondi because Qantas has organized that for him in terms of just putting him on a bus to go there. Facilitate lean and virtual business. I already mentioned virtual. This is virtual business. So I'm doing my banking, I'm doing my news, the Morning Herald, I'm doing my crosswords, my dictionary.com, recording, audio, video recording, whatever I want to do. This is a one-stop shop for me. So a business that cannot come to me through an iPhone or a HTC or a BlackBerry is going to lose out, right? So I need a virtual mechanism and I need it to be lean. So an airline need not run a hotel business. If it tries to run a hotel business, it's in trouble. Just as a bank trying to run a software development shop is in trouble. So that is what we mean by lean. And all these, cloud computing, making it very, very interesting and easy for people to, for organizations to move their non-core business away from the core business and become lean. Facilitate dynamic business processes. Everything is changing. The way in a bank I open an account is changing, or close an account, or do a transaction. The process is changing every day. Although some of those processes are stable for a while, but I suddenly find the bank is educating me through an email to say that there is a different process now for what you wanted to do. Now, probably you may be too young, but if you have filed tax returns for 7 years, you know that after have you filed tax returns for 7 years? Has anyone filed tax returns in Australia? When you try, the kids are not doing it anyway right now because I think the rules have again changed. But I need my statements for last 7 years. And the bank has modified its process, so instead of giving me statements for only 2 years, now it has given me statement for 7 years. So if there is an inquiry or a need to file a return much late, I can go and download those statements. One more reason not to leave one bank and go to another. So dynamic business process, continuously changing. And also enable standards. So I need to move, I need to become a new organization which is by default complying with standards. Example, carbon emission. You know, right? We have got now carbon emission regulations already in place, even before the Parliament passes the new laws. So if you are a company that emits more than 150 kilotons per year, you have to report mandatorily report. Do you have processes in place to do that reporting? And then next year it is 120, it's already now 125 kiloton, and then it will keep going down. So earlier we had 1,000 organizations under mandatory reporting, now we have around 4,000, and then that will keep growing. Do these organizations have processes in place to do that reporting? You can do it in an Excel spreadsheet, very difficult for a bank or an airline. Our attempt at agility is going to ensure through these composite processes that we actually provide all these requirements. So this is a big deal in my opinion anyway. So the areas that are affected. When an organization changes as against a project or a software process within a project, so many things are influencing and are influenced by that change. So I just created a sort of matrix here from society right through to an individual working in an organization. So my bank has started using Agile, Scrum. This is the area of influence or change. So things like my individual preferences, my location independence, and so on will be affected. And this happens immediately. That's why there is so much of charm for people saying, I want to go agile. But actually, when an organization changes, and that's where you get maximum value, everything else is affected, right? So an organization, I put that in italics, where the decision makers, the managers, the employee, they are all influenced, and they influence agility, they influence the new process. Then the industry. So we've got a group, we've got a agile consortium, we've got a business analyst consortium, project management consortium, governance group, ISO standards, green IT and carbon consortium. That's the industry group. Then of course the regulators and policymakers, and finally Facebook. Of the top 10 things that keep CIOs awake at night, the topmost, I think this was early this year survey, or I think it was early this year, the topmost issue, concern of a CIO is the company's image on social media. Because today, if you and I don't like the food we were served in a flight, we will probably not even go to the airline to complain. We'll put up a Facebook page or start tweeting about it. So, and then you will join in, and then comes a big social revolution. That's what is happening in the geopolitical world of Arab nations recently. So an organization that wants to become agile, you can see how it is affecting all these layers when an organization tries to become agile, and it takes a while, whereas this part is rapid. Okay, so the factors that we need to consider when we are transforming an organization, and the factors that will be affected by the change. These are the external ones, and these are the sort of relatively internal ones. And that's again a big deal. And maybe not now, but as time goes by, you will be in that situation where you are asked to be a part of a transformation program or a change management program. We are talking change management, but in the context of processes and methods and so on. So, customer relationship, your interaction with the customer, please check it out. How is it going? How will the customer be affected if you become agile? Government and regulatory policies, again external one. Socio-cultural environment, and I mentioned a little bit about Facebook and Twitter, but there is a lot more to it than that. And then how are your partners going to react? So in the first slide I said external influences as example. These are precisely the external ones. Internally, ability to respond to changes, so agility. So when you are becoming agile internally, your business is able to respond quickly. Bring in new products and services. So when you are saying we are transforming, we are not just transforming a process, we are really saying now I can do this which I could not do earlier on. So situational method engineering should eventually lead to a situation where you can put new products together faster. So it doesn't happen only with software, right? You'll have to bring in HR, and you will have to bring in architects, and you'll have to bring in all sorts of standards and legal professionals to do that. So innovative compliance, so I mentioned legal, Sarbanes-Oxley legislation. Sarbanes-Oxley put phenomenal amount of overheads on businesses because they had to now document things because the directors were made personally liable. So if we go entirely agile, I don't know how the governance standards will react or will challenge pure agility. Technology management, okay, internally you know that things like networks and databases and mirroring of databases and security and all that will have to change. People management, HR. It's saying, agility is saying that, we will have self-managed teams. How does that then work? Where, we have got a strong hierarchical management need. Scrum is saying we want to share tasks. So then if there is only enough budget to promote one person, who are we going to promote? Because everybody is worked together. And product management. So creation of products. So that is in a way related to business innovation as well, but ability to manage a portfolio of products. All of this is affected when we start discussing a small change within a software development domain called Scrum. All of this is changing. This is some of the work I did with British Telecom in Sri Lanka. So it was a business transformation project, and some of the things that were discussed there actually apply to any major change management program, transformation program. And when we talk about transformation in the context of composite agile, same thing applies, because we are not restricting our discussion to software processes only. Until now we studied software processes and analytical processes in the problem space and the solution space and the background space, and you have embedded agile practices in the process components. Okay, fine. Now how do I change my business? So 5 major phases in any of these changes, and they can be iterative. Understand where my current business, what is the status of my organization right now? How good we are in terms of processes or bad? So in a way, CMM can play a role. Diagnose, right? Then based on that, we plan out the change. So here I'm not talking about agile as in agile. I'm saying no. I want to bring in some traditional planning. Which areas will change first, which will be high risk, high impact areas of an organization, which will benefit the most by use of composite agile or analytical processes. Then I actually do the change, and that can take anywhere between 3 months to 2 years to 3 years in fact. And I want to then measure how good my change has been, and finally provide some feedback and review. So this is the way I'll go about changing business transformation and the focus areas. So this is, again, it is important for you and for me to know when a transformation takes place, and for it to be effective, how many areas are changing. So I'll just read them out to you. The business model. The way my business has been modeled, architected. It's a loose collaboration, it's a service-based business, it's manufacturing, it's product, whatever it is. My business model will change, or at least I need to understand it. Then the portfolio of offerings. I mentioned to you about the airline example. If the airline is only offering flights, it will lose out. So now it has to expand its product portfolio, including providing medical insurance for travelers going wherever they are going. We need a method, right? We need a process to do that. Customers and partners, so CRM, the applications. Other ICT systems and databases, we need to worry about them. Operational organization, so HR, employees, hierarchies, all that will change. And I can see already that happening. When we bring in agile values, honesty and trust and self-motivation and so on, the way HR works will change. Right? So you want to adopt a new process? Has someone focused on HR? And in my experience in this British Telecom project, it was fascinating to see a 14 deep hierarchy squashed to 8 deep hierarchy of people structure, organizational structure as a part of transformation. The processes, the way in which things are happening, these are business processes, not software processes, will change. The infrastructure of the organization, the background space, networks, security, wireless connectivity and so on. And finally, regulatory service level agreements, outsourcing, whatever contracts we have, all of that need to be investigated. So this is a nice aside, if you like, spin-off to Scrum at a project level. Everything else has to change before an organization becomes agile. And that's where we are going to get the value of agility. Okay, repeat slide. You remember this from last lecture. So what are we doing? I have added a few things. I'll point them out to you. But until now, what I have said is a software process in a single project has much less impact and much less value than a full-on transformation of an organization. And I mentioned to you about analytical work and business analysis, which we discuss in the problem space, and your requirements modeling as a process component, prototyping as a process component, project management as a process component. All of these have to change together for the organization to get the value of these new processes. If you change them piecemeal, one by one, for example, project management has matured and your organization is using BACOE or you're using Prince2 and so on. The business analysis processes are suffering because there are no BA processes in BACOE. And then you start using some of the BA processes like coming from Skills Framework for Information Age, CFIA, I haven't mentioned. CFIA is there, and IIBA and AIBA, and all these are BA processes. You change them. What about software processes? Then someone says, oh, we are going to use Agile in software. You use Scrum, or you pick up Lean or Kaizen, or whatever are those Agile processes. So what about project management processes? What about ITIL? It's all intertwined. That one of the key things that you are going to learn in this, or you have learned in this subject, is that software processes on their own are not enough. So that's what we discussed thus far. So now we come down to the selection of a process, which is what we did last time. So I'm just putting this in perspective. Now we are saying, okay, agreed, the organization has to change. I need a process. And whenever I need a process, whether I'm investigating a software process or a governance process or a ISO standard for carbon emission, ISO 14001 or 14000 series, whatever it is, I go back to my people, process, technology and money. And I create a checklist. So I got a checklist here for you. This was done. People, ease of use of collaboration, industry acceptance, training and coaching, this was mentioned, and you can add more to it. Is that process easy to use, accepted by the industry, has associated training and mentoring available? Is that process, so this is a process aspect of the process, so this is the sequential, the how aspect of the process. Does it have metrics? Does it adhere to standards? Does it provide traceability? I do fantastic business analysis work before the project becomes a project. Then I have a project or 2 or 3 or a full program, and I do all these changes, apply service orientation, and finally produce a product and deploy it out. And then how do I know that my original business requirements have been satisfied or not? Through traceability. That means through proper documentation. Reuse. Is there a mechanism in my process? The one that I am of course talking about is Composite Agile Method and Strategy, CAMS, which has a mechanism to enable you to reuse requirements and reuse architecture and reuse metrics. Method friction, we discussed that also. Have you identified whether you got COBIT or you got ITIL in your organization? You are a large federal government organization, tax office, for example. You got ITIL. And now how does ITIL sit with Scrum? No one bothers. No one bothers about it right now. Those who are involved in Scrum are happy with Scrum. Those who are doing ITIL are happy with ITIL. You and I are taking on the responsibility of looking at all of these. So method friction and enhanceability, how do I improve it? So that's your checklist. Technology-wise, team-based tool support, we are all working in teams. And we heard Jazz, you guys reminded me when I had mentioned Jazz as an agile tool. team-based tool. Ease of modeling, ease of reporting, type of project, type of product, all these are part of technology, and you can add more to this list. And then money, how much will it cost, and to license a particular method or a composite method, and is there a supporting program for consulting and training, and how much will it cost, and is there a book or two, and is there a website, and is it standardized, and so on. Okay, so now I'm talking about a process, which in my case is a composite process, and I have agreed I need to transform the organization. I have agreed that I need a process within the transformation process, and now I'm going to start deploying. So I'm forming a strategy for deploying that particular mix of processes, which is CAMS, Composite Agile. So this is my V diagram, one that has been used for testing as well. So this diagram is sort of providing a high-level view to a decision maker or a group of decision makers, how to deploy, how to adopt a process in an organization. Okay. So there should be a business case, right? And you're not building a business case, but you should be aware that there will be a business case. Why to do it? In business analysis, there is a full-on discussion or approach, of how to question, art of questioning, an art of listening. Have a series of questions: what and why and how and where and who and whatever I missed out. Business case. I want to use agile method, but not just single agile at software development level. I want to use composite agile. What's the business case for it? That's what you will be doing. If you were doing another subject that includes the business management aspect, you would be doing a business case. This is going to cost so much. These are the risks associated with it. This much of training and licensing and whatever I showed in the previous slide, that's why I showed it there, will go into your business case. Then you need to worry about the scope, the extent to which you want to apply, and you want to apply it across the organization. But you still can't say, I'm going to change the whole organization today. So you're going to say which areas of organization you want to approach first. So you scope that out, and that will depend on the type of the organization and the product and service being offered, and the business transformation program will actually produce a series of projects. You can even have up to 500 projects in one large business transformation program. Now you start configuring. So you say, I'll adopt the process, I'll change it, modify it, I'll configure it, I'll customize it if needed. Situational method engineering applied to the entire suite of processes, not just one. So Six Sigma, TQM at business level, ITIL COBIT at governance level, and so on. All the metrics, the taxonomy that I have shown last all processes. And that will be your adoption process coming down here. And in response, you will need tools, metrics, and standards. You will need concrete value. Of course, project management is focused on output, so I put output there, but what's the value derived from it? And then eventually your business will become agile. So again, to me, it's actually far more interesting than only focusing on a particular software process. Okay, that's it. I think I'll take no. Let me finish this. Sorry, last slide, and then we'll take a break. So this is simply documenting or just showing pictorially what I have said in terms of that V diagram. How to go about it. These are really two, in a way, interchangeable diagrams, but they are really trying to show your organization has pressure points. Therefore, you want to change. What is the motivation? What is the driver for change? Something is not right. and there can be a full business analytical work to identify what is not right. Customers are leaving, what's going on? Root cause analysis. Does that something to do with my software? Maybe it has, because my software is not responding well, not giving user experience. Competition is going ahead, or too many times websites are crashing, technical root cause, so many different ways. So your organization has pressure points, and you are considering a method. In this case, composite agile method and strategy together. So not just a methodology, but a full strategic approach. Then you do self-assessment. So you can, if it is the BA space where I'm currently dealing with self-assessment, so that comes to my mind. So you can go to skills framework for information age, and you can identify a group of BAs on level from 1 to 7, or AIBA from 1 to 9, or send them for an exam with IIBA, come up with CBAP certified people. In terms of CMM, which we will discuss after the break, you assess the whole organization at level 1 or level 2 or level 1.5 or whatever, level 0. Then you, so you plan and document camps, you come up with an adoption plan, and then you start thinking in terms of creating projects, embedding tools, and undertaking training. And up to there, usually organizations seem to go okay. But then the challenges start when you start actually practicing it. You send 300 people on training. So about 300 people who are certified as business analysts or certified agile practitioners. You put them in the first project and you run into difficulty. And my belief is method friction. You have to follow PM BOK in your project, and someone is saying, I'm agile trained and I'm going to use agile. Method friction. And then ongoing management and upgrade. So this is CAMS in practice. So CAMS adoption can follow this path, and it will require a lot of active support, hand-holding, coaching, and so on. And that's how one will go about adopting an organizational process. Any questions or comments? All right, then we will take a break. Thanks for doing the recording.